I watched the inauguration today. I'm sure many of you did, and I really liked it, and I like him, and I think what he's doing, which is calling for people to put forth their best and to have some integrity and make some efforts and some quality is a wonderful thing, and it made me think about a few things. Now the first thing that came on my mind is some of you, and this is as true for you, for those of you who aren't, are now doing some work for Lost Coin. And when I was in the monastery, and this is traditional Zen training, and also Fourth Way does this a different way. There is work training, and work training is an important aspect of things. In traditional Zen, it is called samu, and the point is that you're not just training you're not just working, although the work is necessary around a monastery, but you're working to learn how to work. Now when you do this in a monastery in Japan or in America, you are often doing things like chopping vegetables or dragging rocks or working in a garden. The things that you don't generally do in your everyday life. In the Fourth Way, it is the same. The work is often building and things like that, physical labor. And the point is to be able to do things with concentration. So, part one. I heard from John, a student today, and he was talking about this revelation that he had, which was that he realized that he could get outside his thoughts. And you can. But what he said that I really liked was, but you had to be really alert. And you had to try very hard. Now, he doesn't sit in this group with us every week, so he hasn't heard me say this a million times a different way about effort. You can stop your mind. And he calls it being alert, I call it being conscious or awake. You can do it at any time, and it does require effort. It doesn't require the kind of effort it takes to become the President of the United States. So when I hear somebody say that something requires a lot of effort, that's a relative term. Now I would hope that we too want to make a contribution to the world and to America. And our contribution, the only one that I can teach and lead, is that of developing our own being and our own mind. But it's a very important one, because so much of what happens by itself, as we say, mechanical. So one thing I just wanted to say, when you work for Lost Coin, when you work for the group, sure, concentration is important, but you're really being trained to do better the work you already do, which are lawyers and doctors and all of that, artists. And that isn't just about alertness. That's about acting with others as you think the world should be. See, if you think about what President Obama was saying, and he's saying, you know, let's pull together, let's do our best, let's have some integrity, let's have some honor. Well, that should be part of your work practice and your practice in general. As I always say, look at it as you would look at it from the outside. Think about it really personally. If you're acting when you work with integrity, are you acting the way that if everybody else acted that way, we'd have a great country? Are you acting in such a way? Many people feel that we've gone through 8 years of hard times, and a lot of my generation feel that Barack Obama is a return to the 60s. It's heartening to them, to a more idealistic time. So we have to ask ourselves the same question. Are we acting in a way that we would be proud of, that we would feel was honorable and had integrity? Okay, now, to take this just a little deeper also, methods, right? Sterling was kind enough to drop by and show me an article in Seed magazine on meta-mind, and I read it. And it's really interesting. And it's what cognitive science is beginning to discover, is that when you have a second layer that pays attention to your decisions, not just your decisions, that then your decisions are much better. Now, I want to say something about it, and I don't want to be rude. They don't have it exactly right, but that's because they just started to think about it. But they're definitely going in the right direction. The flaw, I would state, is they are thinking that the second layer that looks at your thinking is also thinking. And if the second layer that looks at your thinking is just thinking, then that's just thinking about thinking. Not so remarkable. When the second layer that looks at your thinking is more and more clear awareness, something different happens. Because then you see your mechanical negative patterns. You just see them. You're not thinking. When you think about them, it's like self-help. Like you say, oh God, I shouldn't be angry, I shouldn't be angry. Oh, it makes me so angry to think about being angry. Right? Why shouldn't I be? And you're thinking about thinking, you're in a loop. You're in a reiterative loop. We're talking about the use of consciousness rather than thought. If all you do is think, then all you do is think. That's your only way of operating. But it is not our full potential. And there's a lot of layers up there that hopefully you will be the pioneers investigating. And some of it, you have a 2,000-year history too, but some of it is going to happen just now when we remove the shackles of traditional thought and traditional forms and really start to understand. For example, if you would know how to work in an office and inspire everybody and have everybody like you and create a standard of integrity, that would be good too. And then you can chop vegetables at home. You know, I don't mean to not chopping vegetables or carrying wood, but that's not all. Because honestly, folks, that's not where we have our problems. I mean, when you're alone chopping a vegetable, how many times has it really turned out very badly? Although my wife would argue. She would point to the kitchen floor and say it turned out very badly. but that's, you know, that's not what we're talking about, okay? So, in everything we do, we have the opportunity to evolve, to do something with integrity. Now, integrity, consciousness, all of this are not new ideas. Actually doing them would be a new idea. A really new idea. Sometimes new ideas are sneaky that way, see? Because it's like somebody says, you know, I love you. You say, oh yeah, I've heard that before. I've heard that in every song on the radio. I've heard that since I was a kid. I've heard it from parents. I heard it then. But that's not the same as if somebody actually gets to the point where they can love you. That's different. When you say something, it doesn't make it real. And we're very confused about that. So what I'm asking you to do in all the practices you do is, and it's a wonderful time because of President Obama, is renew it, you know, and think about it being real. Think about being the person that you could really be. And that will work for you, and it will work for people you know, and it'll work for the world.